No, what I mean, like that just, I don't know, it just seemed beautiful. I gotta say, they really stacked the deck with Johnson County though, as far as like the stuff like bingo that they had or whatever. The first time I had crazy. Top life right. Thanks. There's so many Johnson County.
Oh, yeah. No, there's a lot.
I'm good, but I.
Nobody on our. Nobody like that. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, she's India. She's living in that.
That's cool, Chris.
Whatever. You can do it from Romania, I guess.
Well, and I cannot.
I like sit.
You mean to put a transcript, the transcript like nobody's looking at it straight.
What? That's great. That was about to get dangerous. Thank you for catching that.
Man, that chat is really popping right now.
Yeah.
I thought it was off.
Coming up with this thing to expand the reach of the dollars for those new trees out.
Okay.
Figuring out a way to find smaller.
We've had.
They said
Slithering around.
Great. All right.
it's always either too much or too little.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead and
For those farmers I know,
go ahead and call this meeting to order. We're a little bit delayed for technical reasons, and hopefully the transcription is off. I think it is. Very good. This is the regular meeting for February 2024. It's February 12th, Monday. Do any of the board members have any announcements for the good of the body? Seeing none, I would just first like to welcome our new park board member from District 4, Nathan McClure. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. I'll give you the floor if you'd like to say a few words.
I'm just excited to be here. You know, I'm the last house of the city. So,
wow, wait, you're the last house?
my neighbors are the next, but I'm 2 doors from the end of the city line.
Wow. The frontier, indeed. Give us dispatches from the frontier there. Thank you so much for joining us. Really looking forward to working alongside you. Okay, seeing no announcements, we're going to go ahead and roll into our public comment section. And I see that we've got the tree people with us today. So Representative Bishop, if you'd like to join us and bring us your comments.
Would you like for me to go to the microphone?
Yes, please, if you could, to address the crowd. Welcome. Please state your name for the record.
Screed, this reminds me of the podium.
Yeah.
Lectern in the chamber. My name is Elizabeth Bishop. I live at 8518 East Long Lake Street, which is southeast. I am the past chair of the board of directors of ICT Trees Incorporated. And at this point, I would very much like to introduce Harold Schlettbeck, who is our current chair, and he will say just a very brief hello.
I want to say that Elizabeth is going to continue, and she is a dynamo. And there is no way that anybody in our organization is able to, well, maybe I say we barely can keep up with her. And only by dividing up the task that she has put on our plates. ICT Trees has chosen a new executive new executive officers and a board of directors, and I just wanted to tell you who they are and something about our plans for this year. Our vice chair is Aaron Petrask. Our treasurer is Dr. Chuck Haber, who's chair of the sociology department at WSU, and our secretary is Dr. Ramona Lear Schwittenberg. So we have a number of PhDs on our board. And our board members are Doug Ballard, Michael McCormick, Dr. Russell Arvin Fox, and of course Elizabeth. And as I said, Elizabeth is going to continue to work with us, and she and I are always in conversation with each other. She'll be focused on fundraising and local government liaison. This spring, we are planning 2 events. In early April, we will be having a free tree distribution event for homeowners in neighborhoods identified as heat islands in the city's NASA study of our tree cover. And we have received a grant from Evergy to make that possible. And their green team will be working with us. And we will be soliciting widely for volunteers to make that a reality. And then on Saturday, April 27th, which is the day after Arbor Day, we will be having an urban tree fest at Clapp Park. And we have been working closely and certainly keeping Park and Rec informed of everything that we're doing, and we value very much collaborating with them on these activities. In the fall, we are planning a tree planting event, and we're actively seeking a grant or grants for that, and we think we have some pretty good prospects. And we also know that we need to sit down with Park and Rec and about this opportunity and figure out where we can plant those trees and what kinds of trees we want to plant. So we're going to be looking for volunteers to help staff these activities. I also want to send out a great big thanks to Lorenzo Escobedo and Gary Ferris and Troy Houtman. All 3 of these individuals have helped us tremendously, these park staff. Lorenzo was on our board, the original board of incorporators. We're just here this year as our first, we haven't been in existence a year till March. But Lorenzo was appointed to the board by our board of incorporators, and we elected this new board, and Lorenzo said that he, because of his his new job duties, it was going to be a bit much for him. But we were hoping, we have provisions in our bylaws for an advisory board. We're hoping to have members of that board include private sector arborists, members of the park department. Will certainly be discussing with Park and Rec who might fill a position on there, K-State, Extension Service. So I want to finish and just say big thanks to everyone, and have a great day.
Before you go, would you mind taking a couple of questions?
Sure.
Great. I just wanted to clarify, what was the date of the tree distribution that you were talking about?
It's we're going to start it, and the expert's right over there. She's put this together.
April the 6th in Murdoch Park.
April 6th, Murdoch. Great.
We haven't set a specific time yet. It will be mostly morning, 9 to noon, something along those lines. Maybe 10 to 1.
Very good. And that's separate from the Urban Tree Fest on the 27th at Clapp.
Yes, and
Okay.
we know that it's a lot to do in 1 month, but we're going to be working hard on that.
Absolutely. You were talking about that grant, looking for a grant. Have you engaged with the Sustainability Board? Because I'd mentioned just offhand earlier, minutes ago, about how I believe that the Sustainability Board is engaging with the city on grant writing opportunities like this. They're looking to find a grant writer to work with.
They've been in touch with us. I think I can share that we're also in touch with the Arbor Day Foundation and that they coordinate grants by corporations for things like tree planting in the local communities. And we're definitely going to be working with the city. At this point, we have had some communication with, I think it's called, the guy, I can't recall his name, is it Sustainability
Yeah.
Officer? Or something?
Yeah, the sustainability, I'm not certain if anybody can help me at the sustainability officer.
Yeah, I'm on that, and we haven't had a quorum for like 3 months, and so have not been very effective meetings.
That's very frustrating.
But they did hire a part-time coordinator in the city manager's office.
So it might be, well, I
And
mean,
he's been in touch with us, and we're definitely looking at that. And one of the things we want to do in collaboration with Park and Rec and with the city of Wichita is look at those heat island areas that have been identified in underserved communities and see if we can't figure out how to bring, some kind of cooperation, maybe bring in some private money as well as the government money that he's talking about, the sustainability director is talking about.
well, I mean, as you say it, just where my mind goes with that, if you can gather some of that corporate money in addition to, if you get a government grant, I think that might be the opportunity to go to the Park Foundation and say, we've got these, the money follows money, of course, but if you can get a chunk put together from a government grant and say, tack that on with some private money, all of a sudden you're talking about a real initiative there. So, and Alejo doesn't get up in the morning until you talk about $10,000 of matching funds. So listen, you got to be real serious with this guy. But I hope the best of that. That sounds really intriguing. Let's see if we can.
There's things I want to talk about. I'll be honest with you, there is a lot of money out there, and I don't think $10,000 matching fund is. I think that's not hard.
Okay.
Well, that's definitely doable.
But I don't know what the Park Foundation has to be able to hand out. But I think that we can. I believe this year we will probably go beyond that.
Well, wow.
Now, keep us in the loop. I think that this is the type of project that the Park Foundation wants to be involved with. Part of it is, projects where they don't have to necessarily fund the whole thing. That's gonna live longer than the foundation itself, and it's gonna extend the dollars. And this sounds like that's up their alley.
Yeah, Mr. President, I would say that there are so many opportunities out there, and there's so much interest that it's really, we're going to miss some just because we're new and we're newbies and don't know what we're doing.
Well, you're certainly on the right path, though, it sounds like. So thank you so much for that. Does anybody have any other questions for our guest? Seeing none. Thank you so much. Let's follow up offline.
Thank you.
I appreciate you being back. Thank you so much. Okay, let's go ahead and roll into our official business portion of the meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from the January discussion? Does anybody have any questions about the minutes? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion that we approve the minutes.
So moved.
Motion has been moved. I will, and has been seconded by Tom. Seeing that we have a motion and a second, let's go ahead and open the roll. Members will cast their, unless there's a question. Okay, all those in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. Okay, moving forward into new items for consideration, I will kick it over to Reg, who is taking over for Troy today. Reggie, would you go ahead and lead us into our first item of new business, recognition of volunteers?
Sure. I would like everyone that's here for the volunteer project that was out with the cleanup after the goats to please come forward. As you guys are aware, we had the ghosts that came over and did some clearing at our park. And part of that, we had a lot of trash and debris that was left behind after that. And we had a volunteer group consisting of this young man here and some others that came out and did some cleanup at the park there. So we wanted to give an opportunity, you guys come on over, to present them with one of our coins from the Parks and Rec Department for your hard work for working on the project there. Thank you, guys. We're volunteer their time to make clean parks and places for people to enjoy. So thank you for your support. Would you like to say anything?
I would like to say if anybody wants to help us out with with our cleanup, the area that we mostly clean up and is on Forest Avenue, around from 4:30 to around 5.
Park, any given day.
Well, what's your name, buddy?
Elliot Marlette.
Elliot, thank you so much. Really appreciate everything that you've done. Thank you for being here today. Thank you. Gosh, we need a lot more Elliots. Thank you so much. That was cool. Well, we're still, wait just a second. That was really cool. Really appreciate all of our volunteers, the people who get involved, make our city what it is. Cannot live without folks who do that. So Reggie, let's stick with you because we've got another new item of new business, and that's the Crystal Prairie Lake donation for trail development. What can you tell us about that? Uh-oh, do we got Tim coming up? Go ahead, ask Tim. Okay, sorry. Yes, we got Tim who's going to be telling us about it. We're on item B of number 2.
Great. So, Troy was going to be here to kind of talk about this, but there's been some traction out at Crystal Prairie Lake Park. I know that most of us are pretty familiar with that. But for those that aren't, it's probably District 6, pretty much where next to the landfill, the Brooks Track landfill, but it's to the west of there, north of K96. So the developer in that area has graciously decided to donate funds to help put a bike trail there. And there's lots of trails planned for the park, but the idea is to try to help connect the trail from the park all the way down to Sedgwick County Park. So that would be a big, obviously a large connection to try to do that, connect those two parks to the other two massive parks. So Jay Russell is the developer who's wanting to make that donation. I think Troy was wanting to have the vote for approval for accepting the donation or for the project. So that's kind of the motion. Happy to answer any questions, but I guess maybe a little background is that, originally that land was dredged for sand. Cornejo is expected to be out of there formally, I think sometime next year, late next year, or maybe it could be this year, but pretty soon. They're pretty much done with operations out there. They aren't out there mining or anything like that. So if you drive by on K96, you shouldn't really see anyone out there dredging or anything like that or mining. So their operation is pretty much done out there. There's still some cleanup that they need to do, but otherwise, it's a city park. We can start going there, start making improvements. I think the big thing is trying to create that connection for trails and stuff inside that park and trying to create more connectivity, especially in that part now. So happy to answer any questions, but I know Troy's hoping for a movement.
Questions for staff?
Yeah, I drive by there a lot, and I see where the bike trail goes all the way up to K96, but then it's very narrow, and it looks like it's almost impossible to put a bike trail, a reasonable bike trail, a safe one, underneath the bridge of 96, the underpass.
Yeah, I think we're still exploring exactly how to do that. I know, obviously with that, KDOT's probably likely involved, and unfortunately I don't have that information on exactly how to do that. I know for us, kind of our goal, at least in terms of the donation, I think is mostly for within the city park property, connecting once it gets underneath K96 to then go in through the park and do all that stuff. So,
I'm just highlighting it as a potential safety hazard right there.
yeah,
But get us involved.
Yeah.
So is this like a concrete bike trail, or is Wichita expanding into pump tracks, little off-roading, more opportunities?
I think we probably are expanding to that, but not with this project. That doesn't mean that it can't be out there at the park. I think we're still evaluating. So I guess diving into it a little bit more. So you come up with a general idea and you want, Cornejo, when they're out there, to basically shape the park to what we were hoping for it to be. It doesn't match exactly the curvature that we had maybe had in the master plan, because over time and years, things kind of change. So I think the master plan for Crystal Prairie Lake Park is probably open for discussion on what to do. What if was done, I think it started maybe 10 years ago, a master plan. So obviously life has changed. So I think a pump track is something that could be discussed, but that's not a part of this specific project, or at least what this money is intended for. It's mostly hard. I don't know the exact width that we're looking for, but it will be hard surface multi-use path for people to use. I envision kind of a tiered system probably, that we're probably going to have more of a primary trail system, a secondary, and then maybe a tertiary where that's hard surface or compacted surface earth and different things like that over time.
Basically a sidewalk down at 29th of.
What is the relationship between what we know as the Crystal Prairie Lake Master Plan and reality right now? Where is it? I mean, because the impression I was getting is that it's just been a project that has been kind of kicked down the road for a few decades. And I'm just, listen, and I know there's been a lot of discussion to it, but I mean, like, this just seems to be one of those moments when we are getting money dropped on us as a board. Like, and I've heard about this, is like, I've heard actually complaints from staff that we get money for new projects, like, let's build a bike path. Great, fantastic, but like, how does that fit into the grander strategy? This is one of those moments where I couldn't tell you what's going on with Crystal Prairie Lake. It was my impression that it's just basically, it's on paper and that's it. We're just kind of going to end up slowly working towards something. And I don't know if that's a complaint. I don't know if that's a concern, but it's just like, it seems to me, I've heard in the past, we've had projects that come down as well-intentioned. And I'm not saying that a bike path is going to be a problem, but I'm curious how does this make the development of Crystal Prairie Lake Park easier, better? Does it fit into something already envisioned? How is it that we can re-engage on that? It just seems like why are we doing this piecemeal? Is I guess my concern. If Troy were here, I would get into an argument with him, I'm sure. But it just seems like yes, this is nice that somebody wants to donate money. Is anybody else picking up what I'm saying here? Like, it's like
Starting the project, or is this finishing the project?
That's a great question.
No.
I don't know.
The land is there, it's ours, it is, got a big fence around it, it's got a big pit, sand pit.
The project was started in like 2006 or something,
Or thereabouts.
and it's been slow. It's just never been funded.
There's a vision that has a big building and glass and piers.
It looked like Jurassic Park. It was crazy. And there was like a lake out there. And like, the money has never been there. It was originally said to be a $25 million park, which is way less than what it would actually be at this point. But it has been like discussed. And
I think maybe a little bit of background too is I believe some of that funding was reallocated to the baseball stadium.
yeah,
So that was kind of how that narrative went along. So I think the other thing too is that it was an active mining site. So it's kind of hard to program and do things while there are active large scale machinery going on out there, because there was a lease for them to do that. So I think they're kind of hopefully trying to align over at the same time, do some planning work and stuff. And then as soon as Cornejo moves out, then we can come in and do improvements. I think the funding has been reallocated, so I think right now there's a lot of possibilities, obviously, for the park. I think, and to kind of answer your question about the bike path and trail, the great thing, the most impact that a bike path and trail is going to do is grading mostly. So then we're gonna have to go in there, maybe regrade a little bit. Most of it's fairly flat, so if we put in a sidewalk or anything like that, that can easily be removed, modified, should something come in. So like, let's say we want to do a large community center there or venue there. I don't think that putting in bike paths or anything like that would then.
Doesn't lock you in.
Yeah, it doesn't lock you in. So that's one great thing about the trails. The other thing too is that the more people we get into the park, the more conversation we get started to maybe help with funding and stuff like that. Because right now it's just kind of open. And there's a number of parks that we have in the park system that aren't fully developed. But I think this one has a lot of great opportunity to start the conversation again. So,
Question about the funding. Does the donation cover the full expense of installing the bike path, grading it, all of that stuff that you need? Or is this a portion of it? And then if it's only a portion, how are we going to cover the difference?
Good question.
yeah, great question. So I believe the funding is over 5 years, $200,000 each year, for a total of $1 million. I believe we are looking to, and we have in the past, put in a CIP item request for improvements to the park. So sometimes that, sometimes there's just other priorities that happen as you go through the CIP items. But obviously that's kind of up for council and everyone to determine through that process. But in terms of funding through this donation, it would be for 5 years, $200,000 a pop or each year. Right now, we don't know exactly the layout of the trail. So I think that until we get that locked down, we don't have hard numbers on that. But I would largely imagine that $100,000 or $1 million should do more than just get us along Hoover Road. So I think it would be beyond that. I think it really depends on how extravagant we really want to get with the trails and how much we want to pull through the park. There's a lot of opportunity for trails and different legs to happen. So I could see it being a different funding approach in the future. If $1 million doesn't get us super far, we can program and do things like that to add in loops or trails and things like that. So
Proposed donation is only for Crystal Prairie,
that is my understanding. That's just for the park and for bike path trail.
Studies and blueprints.
Yes, we do have a lot of plans that are in place now. Obviously, that's kind of changed over time. So one of the things is that Cornejo is able, based on what they could do, the end-up grades don't always match, right? I think there's a tolerance that they were given to meet. So it could be, 4 feet higher here, 4 feet lower, based on what, I don't know exactly what was in the contract, but there may be some manipulation of grades that we have to do with that.
So who's the donor?
This is Jay Russell. He has, I think, some developments.
So is he developing around the park?
Yes, and I believe his intent is to help with connectivity to the different parks of Edward County for people in the area.
Well, I mean, no, his interest is developing around the park and creating more value for the development. So which is good. We want that. I'm not saying that's bad. It's just let's.
There's a lot of development going across the street on the west side of,
Right.
a lot of new houses.
Yep.
Big houses.
I need to understand more how this fits into the master plan.
That's, I mean, like, listen, I feel like
I'm headed to this.
yeah, it's just, I don't want to sound like I'm not happy that somebody wants to give money, $1 million toward, our funds. It's just like, where does this fit in? That's the question I come back to. This is District 6, yes?
Yes.
So, I mean, has there been any, what can you say, Tom? Has there been a discussion?
Nothing.
I don't know. I don't know why I'm being so hesitant about this. I feel like I'm sprung on this. I didn't hear anything about this until like right now.
And just kind of a little bit on one of the things that we try to do once we have CIP projects that are on the book, the more that we can get outside funding to help with that, it helps escalate some of those projects getting started. So this is just the concept to say that we're supportive of taking those funding that we can use. So there hasn't been anything definitive to say that this is the path that's going to go along, but this is another option to help fund once we do move forward. So just keep that in mind once you're considering as well, that this is just another funding source to help with the project as we move forward.
So the funding is over 5 years, but I'm imagining that it's not going to take us 5 years to build a bike path, right? Or is that, or would be, I guess, let's say that we say, yeah, absolutely, like we're in support of it. And I mean, I don't think we need to turn away $1 million. that'd be silly. But assuming we receive this $1 million over 5 years, do we have an idea of like once Cornejo's out, let's say they're out later this year, how quickly can a bike path come in there? And then does J. Russell understand that, the bike path isn't going to pop in there in 3 months? It might take 12 or 18.
Yeah, I think there's an understanding that this takes a little bit of time for us to negotiate, not negotiate, but in terms for us to like discuss and figure out a plan, figure out an alignment for it. Again, until we get out there, put grades down, we don't really know exactly,
Parking.
10 feet this way, 20 feet this way. Does it all need to be in the right of way? Or we need to, those little things need to get hammered out. We do have a master plan that we can look at and feed off of and try to figure out exactly the original intent with the idea of, alignment and things like that. General goals and ideas.
So the million is really just to kickstart the conversation. And vote, as a city, we're voting that our intention is to really carry this plan forward for Crystal Prairie Park.
Yes, yeah, I think,
Prairie Lake, sorry.
yeah, I think the goal here is to get this started and get a trail in. Again, I think the main thing is my thought is that the main portion of this project will be within, let's say, 50 to 60 feet of the curb. We're not probably going deep into the park with maybe this money, but additional funding, obviously we'd like to match this as much as we can or find CIP funding to do that, to extend this out. And, maybe we get more done in the first couple of years and then, maybe the funding's just great. And then, hey, we have an extra $100,000 remaining. Let's see if we can do this. Or, maybe we want to add more benches or trash cans, things like that. So I don't think that we have like trail, crossings across Hoover aligned yet, because we don't really know exactly what the park is going to fully end up looking like. So I imagine that, maybe some of that goes to hawk signals and stuff like that. So.
Tom, do you know, is this affordable housing or is this going to be more?
It's a mix.
It's a
There
mix.
is some of those duplex that are just sort of cookie cutter and some big houses and some around the lake that are big.
I just feel leery about accepting something from a developer who's going to build housing for, but most people can't afford to live.
I mean, that's been a criticism.
I mean, that's kind of like, not that we all love Auburn Hills, but that's kind of, in the scheme of things, it drove up property values. They made it beyond the affordability of a lot of people who are working class. So, and are we going to do that again? So.
Frankly, that's really, if we're building a park, let's be, what strings comes with this $1 million is the thing. It's like, if we're building a park, is it going to go toward a private development, necessarily? And I'm not suggesting that is, of course, but it's just like, that's something that comes into mind here. So and what is the recommended action?
I guess the recommended action is to, I believe, approve the donation, the monetary donation, and I guess maybe approve of the idea or the concept or the project. I don't think I have exact language, but I think approval of support of the project.
Is that the right thing?
Well, if you're just, it kind of depends what he's seeking. If we're not trying to approve any agreement or anything necessarily like that, we're just kind of whatever step you all are at in the process, whether you, I guess, approve of where they're at. It's more kind of, it would be kind of like the recommendation side of things, more of advisory side of things of which way they would like to go.
Is this thing going?
This phrasing's totally fine too.
Go to council or anything like this after this?
I don't think it would. It goes just to us. Isn't it just designated because we're the ones who are accepting the donation, are reduced to accepting the donation?
So we're a certain dollar
Yeah,
amount council.
Well, and council usually accepts money on behalf, and would in this case as well. And if it is something that is pending before, and you want to bring before council soon, and apologies, I missed that maybe at the beginning as well, can I recommend to accept the money or not is probably the cleanest way to kind of frame it. But if there are larger questions about the project, then we can do more of an advice or recommend with this advice kind of framing for the motion.
Not something in your district, Tom, but I don't feel good about today, giving them something. It's just my advice, right? I really don't. I really don't know enough to, advise one way or the other.
I guess, do they, Jay Russell, do they have stipulations that they've put in place, or is it just we just want a bike path, you're using this money to fund a bike path at the park?
So most candidly, I think our intent was to probably have a bike path in sooner, already by now.
Yeah.
I think their goal is to provide for the housing in that area, so that would be, we want to put an amenity in. The park is the best spot for that amenity. We'd like to donate to improve the park.
It's a park improvement.
Yeah, and it will be a public, it's a public park and will be open to the public, so.
There's no intention to gate that park or charge anybody, yeah.
No, none of, I haven't heard any of that talk or anything like that, for privatizing the park at all.
Connectivity to Sedgwick County Park, that's cool. That's a really, really cool idea. Look, it's just, I think that the frustration I hear from several of my fellow board members is in the process. Just this is yet another, like we're hearing a little bit of friction on even moving forward on the discussion of a new master plan. And now here we are with another major donation coming in that we don't know whether or not it's going to fit in our grander scheme necessarily. I mean, it will, but it's like, this isn't the way we should be doing business, in my view, is that we just kind of like it. I didn't know about this until I read the agenda here, like that. I don't remember this being on the draft agenda. I'm not sure. It was on the draft agenda. Excuse me then. Shame on me because I wasn't aware that this, I misperceived that. Then I should
Oh,
have.
but it didn't really have details to it. That's
Yeah,
kind of where I'm at. The details we're just kind of getting now, and so.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Some consideration to it. That's why I asked the questions about, is this coming with affordable housing? That's a lot of open questions.
There's a lot of people that use the trail that goes up to K96, up to the access there. But if we extend it for another half mile, that same trail safely, and then in 50 feet or whatever, I don't know, putting another parking lot at the end of that probably make a lot of sense. But seeing the houses across the street there, what they really want probably is a safe way to get to Sedgwick County Park and the big playground there.
So dumb question, and this is pure ignorance.
Please.
How big is the park? How big is the easement? Because I've lived in other states where they put in a sidewalk, but then all of a sudden.
It's like 1,000 acres or so.
No, I know how big Sedgwick County is. I just didn't know how big.
This
Okay.
entire area.
Right.
So Brook Track is there,
Yep.
and this entire area next to it, and then the J. Russell Construction is.
But I was just thinking about snaking this thing down through the neighborhoods. Is this something we're going to be able to run like a 5K, a 10K, have big community events on, or are the neighbors going to be complaining that?
I think, generally speaking, and I'm not sure exactly what's on the other side, but there is, I believe, on Ontario roads, the city requires multi-use paths. On the side, I think maybe 10 feet wide, but
This entire area.
a little
There's a
bit
lot more
about,
dug
like,
out
the
right now.
timing about the project is that,
Well,
That would be
there's
the
a bike trail that goes along.
yeah.
So they're not on the YouTube, we can
yeah.
talk.
So the timing on the project is,
This
yeah,
doesn't connect all
as
the
most of
way
you know,
here.
we don't get the CIP approved until
Several houses.
August, September, late fall. We were approached about this in the winter and ironed out in January.
Johnson Greenhouse.
So this is the first time we received. We didn't know about this when we were playing CIP last year.
It's full.
So this is the intent.
I mean, like my frustration is not with you. It's not even necessarily with Troy. It's just like, I wish that this just seems like, I hope that we can get to a place where we're not just accepting donations and then moving in that direction because we can. Like that.
I mean, I don't want to.
Yeah, but anyway. Do we have any other thoughts, questions? Where were we thinking here, gentlemen?
I mean, it's $1 million, I don't. I mean, if there's
Let's
any.
look your gift horse in the mouth.
If the idea is that the dollars are used to develop a bike path that eventually is gonna go in the park anyways, we know it's gonna go in the park, we don't know what it's gonna look like. Like, in the master plan, there's an idea for people to be able to access the whole lake or the area. In my mind, like, we're gonna do it, like, if it's not gonna like marry us to a specific path and still allow the city to design a space, it's just gonna activate it before we have the big glass building and the docks and all of, I'm imagining there's gonna be water activation or whatever. I feel like, I mean, It would be silly to turn it away. I know we've talked about that park for literally decades.
Mhm.
There's obviously needs to be a community engagement process associated with it, but I don't know. I think it'd be silly if we turned away $1 million. It's not my district.
Yeah, it's your district, man. We'll follow your lead on this. I mean, really, like, I'm kind of like at that.
I'll make a motion that we accept the donation for improvements to bike paths at Crystal Lake Prairie. I don't want to go much further.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, a motion has been made in a second. Do we need to clarify? We're good?
Oh, no, that's good. Yeah. I mean, just to clarify, the board's not approving it. This is kind of the recommendation for council approval, but otherwise the motion's fine. It's like that. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the issue before the board.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those voting in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. No, motion carries 3-2. Okay, thank you very much. Let's move on to Brandon Hall with the finance update.
Good discussion, though. We have a board.
What's the good word?
All right, thank you guys. So this is going to be how we finish up the year 2023. So it's through December. And it's pretty good news how we finished up 2023. So as you can see, that with the revenue for the departments, we actually finished over what we had originally budgeted. So we had actually come up with $237,000 more than what was budgeted for the year. A big part of that is recreation. They just had a really great year. And then also with park maintenance and forestry, one of the ways that they bring in money is through rental of a park stage, and we got a lot of activity with the park stage rental. So that was up a lot more than what we had anticipated.
Wait, really? Can we stop on a second? That is a big...
that was a large percentage of growth. It wasn't like a big dollar figure. I mean, it wasn't like I think we had originally planned about 9,000, and they came in at about like 15,000, something like that. So I mean, it was a large area.
So you're not saying we get in the park stage rental business?
Right.
Okay.
And then as far as the expenses go, we did finish up with about $1.3 million under budget for the year. And most of that was generated by parks, park maintenance and forestry. A good chunk of that is that we increased the budget for contracted mowing. Part of that contract was fuel surcharge fees that would increase and would kick in if gas prices hit a specific amount. And thankfully, that didn't happen this year. So gas prices stayed low. We did not have to pay those incentives for the fuel surcharge, and so we came in under budget quite a bit on those. However, we're still going to keep those contracts budgeted at a higher amount, just in case if gas prices go up, we don't want to be caught unaware again. So.
Good work.
Thank you. Yeah, the divisions did really well maintaining and monitoring their budgets this year. It was really good news. And as far as cost recovery goes for the recreation side, everything's looking good, pretty comparable to last year. We do see some things are low or lower. Again, with the shelter rentals, we are looking at some of the costs can be coupled into like the recreation centers, and so we are trying to do a better job of reporting and isolating those out of the recreation centers and reporting them to the shelters. And so it's kind of more of a true cost recovery for the shelter rentals. Specialty parks is down this year. That is mostly fueled by the tennis center, and we've had staffing issues and not being able to do as many lessons as we've done leadership change and staffing changes over at the recreation center. Moving forward into golf. Golf has had a great year. Overall, looking about almost about 5% over budget in their revenues. So raking in about $260,000 more in revenue than what we had originally budgeted. And I'll let Jesse talk more about that when he gets into his rounds reports. But also, as far as the expenditures go, we've done really well, coming in at about 96% of the budget, with an unencumbered cash ending at about $1.13 million. And part of that is we did a $500,000 transfer from our balance sheet into our projects, so that we can afford some new equipment and things like that. So that ending cash, we want to shoot for about $1 million every year to have on hand. Anything else we like to have on hand so that we can move those over into the projects, buy more equipment, do some cart path fixes and things like that. As far as cost recovery goes, they're all doing great. Continuing a strong tradition over at the golf course. And with that, if you have any questions.
Questions for staff? Impressive numbers.
All right.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you. All right, Reggie, I think you were up next. Recreation update.
So as Brandon mentioned, we finished out last year with a really good year with a lot of participation in our programs that we had there. A lot of good awareness with our special events that we had in place as well. So that's kind of leading into this year as well. So January was a busy month for us. One of the things that we mentioned to you guys before that we've done quite a bit more of at an athletic division, we're doing more Miracle League programming. And one of those programs is our Miracle League bowling program that we increased our numbers quite a bit from the previous year and went up to 42 bowlers to 8 teams compared to half that the year before. So you can see got some pretty unique names for some of those participants that are in the programs and the teams itself. So the way that our program is set up is each team comes along with a buddy that comes on to participate with them in all of the activities they actually do. So it's a really great opportunity to reach the demographics that we'll continue to expand to provide more programming for. We also are planning again for this year to actually do the Wichita festivals and doing some adult softball pitch tournament during that time frame, doing Riverfest, as well as expanding some of our other programs that we did last year. We also did some programming at the tennis center that we'll be looking at, as well as O.J. Watson Park. So Edgemoor Rec Center continue to be really active with a lot of new programs that we actually have there in place as well. We had a few fitness classes that you'll see that have high registrations. And one of the things that we do with those classes itself is that we try to make them really affordable for the community to come out and participate in and provide some flexibility that is available for the community around their work schedule and moving times for the kids that are participating in other activities in the community. So we put those out and have gotten some really good participation with those classes that we offered. We did an intro to pickleball class that was full with 12. Also have a fencing class that we offered that had 5 in it as well as some yoga and some other fitness classes that we offer there as well. So pickleball open play continues to be really popular. As you guys know, as the weather gets colder, we have lined all of our rec centers for indoors to do pickleball there as well. We only have 3 courts that are indoors over at the tennis center, and we have more people than we can accommodate. So we put some of those individuals out to our rec centers to be able to use services there as well. So you can see that's another way that we're able to do some classes and meet that need in the community as pickleball continues to grow. So Evergreen Rec Center is our host site. Matt Martinez, the one that leads our Open Streets IACT. That's coming up on Cinco de Mayo this year that we'll be doing up in the north end there. Also doing an event over at Wichita State. We're leading there in April that we'll be doing an event there from 12 to 4 also. We started a new Tai Chi class that had 22-year-olds in that particular class. And then we did the big snowball event that we had over at the Indian Center. And we had 286 participants that came out for that particular event on that Friday night, so on that Saturday night. So really well attended by the community. And that's an area that we are looking at as we have opportunity to expand and offer several times throughout the year as well. And lastly, Lynette Woodard, another site that we do. I'm sure you guys are familiar with the City Crew event that we do. That's a free kids club that we have events throughout the year to get people out just to see our facilities and kind of experience some of our programming that we offer. And on January the 20th, we had a totally awesome event by City Crew over at Atwater where we had the Kansas Wildlife exhibit as well as the public library that was out there decorating cookies and had 40 crew members and their family members that are there on site for that particular event. So really good way to expose a lot of the programs that we offer in the community and get the community out to see some of those things for free. So we also had a blast there. You can see some of the pictures that we had there. We had some of our animals out from the Kansas Wildlife exhibit, the library on site there as well, and you can see that Barry's down on the left as well. So this kind of leads into it. We are also doing maximum enrollment with about our top classes that we have there. We have a We Hoop sports program that's offered there for 1 and 2 year olds to kind of expose them to sports. And in the gym area there, we had great class participation for that, as well as into our youth basketball enrollment programs that we have there on the site as well. So a lot we don't realize is that our gyms are extremely busy, especially during this time frame when it's cold. We have a lot of programming that we do on site. Also a lot of rentals for basketball teams that are coming in, soccer teams that are coming in, and just other youth groups to get indoors when the weather's cold. So both of our centers have rentals that are in the gym or even programming almost 7 nights a week. And leads into the end. I'll stand for any questions that you guys may have as well.
Questions for staff? Seeing none. Thanks very much, Rich. Okay, good to see you. All right, for the good news, Jesse. Our golf update. You kind of spoiled your thunder, I think.
He did, yeah.
All
All right, well, I'm gonna start with January, and you all know it's miserable in January. I think we were closed 17 days completely and only open partially a few other days. So looking at the January numbers, there wasn't a lot we could do for rounds. They're down quite a bit, 57%. Last year was fairly decent. There's good news on the way, so let me get through this. January, of course, January rounds are the same since it's first month. Car rentals, we had almost 15,000 in revenue compared to 40,000 last year. Food and beverage, and we didn't have anyone at the courses. So everything, drive range is way down. Merchandise actually did great, which is good. It's a good sign that folks are still coming out. We just couldn't offer anything other than merchandise. 13,000 merchandise sales compared to 11,000 last year. So little bump there. Membership counts for it to be this time of year, pretty happy. We only lost 3 members net. Total revenue, luckily the last 4 or 5 days of the month were decent with weather. So we were able to climb back up, get close to last year. So we're only 17,000 behind at the end of January. Now, I went ahead and we've had a great start to February. So I went ahead and looked at the first 10 days of the month. So looking at the first of the year to February 10th last year, we were at 398. Now we're even having that bad of a January, we're already up nearly $30,000 for the year. So
All right.
we're out of the hole. We're back up.
Absolved for the bad news. Very good.
I had to figure out a way to.
You fudged the numbers a little bit.
All right. We talked about, I think in the last meeting, I went over a lot of the projects and upgrades and improvements and purchases that we made. So I know Brandon talked about this a little bit. So where did that put us financially after all these things? We finally got the year-end numbers, and as he said, our fund balance is 1.35. We moved $500,000 into the project fund, which we have not touched yet. So we have 4 project buckets. We have one which is ground improvement. We have currently $240,000 in that account, and that's going to be, we're going to do the cart pass. We have the pre-bid meeting on next Tuesday to get that started. We have the cart fund, which is self-sustaining. We'll never touch that for anything other than carts. And now that everything is in place, the carts are paid for, they paid for the old cars, we got the new ones in. If nothing changed, looking at last year's number, that fund would sustain itself for the next 16 years without us having to touch it. So you always, you draw out a plan that's you're really happy when you get to the finish line and it actually worked out the way you hope. So that's good. Our equipment fund, we have just about $120,000, I believe, currently in that fund. And clubhouse renovations, we have $140,000 left. We're nearing the end. The only thing we have left to do in the clubhouses is the food and beverage areas at Tex and Mac, and that's underway right now. We do have some IT upgrades that we need to do. We have about $70,000. That's recabling, new switches. All the equipment is 12 to 15 years old. It's not able to handle the speeds that we need, which is a big part of our system being slow. So we are looking at about a $70,000 expense. Luckily, we have leftover money from the clubhouse fund that we can use, so we don't have to dip into our regular fund. One thing today, we have our first event is the Shamrock Scramble. That's at Auburn on March the 16th. We hit capacity today. We're 5 weeks out. We have 40 teams registered. I've had 6 teams reach out today saying, hey, I'm trying to register, it won't let me. I had to let them know, we're going to put you on a wait list, we're full. So 5 weeks out, we already have 46 teams, and a lot of people are going to wait till the last minute. So we actually are going to sit down tomorrow and determine if we want to add a second day to that event. I think we can fill up both days. So
That's great.
yeah, it's a really good sign for the season.
That's really exciting. Wow. Questions for staff?
How are you looking on junior memberships forecasted?
So junior memberships are weird for us. We have the golf marathon program. If you're familiar with that, anyone under the age of 18 can play golf anytime, no questions asked. It does not cost them a dime. So our junior memberships, really, all they have to do is they scan a QR code, they put in their info, and then we charge a group of fundraisers that pay for their green fees. So it's hard to get a junior member. It's really pointless. The only people that have those, they just don't want to do the thing. But
I'm just ignorant, trying to catch up. I played a lot as a kid.
So yeah. So we have the Wichita Junior Golf Foundation. They last year, between them, First Tee, and our programming, we ran about 1,200 kids through our junior programming, and this is their 50th anniversary. So on, get my dates right, on April 13th, we're having a junior golf day at Tex and Solver. So it's from 1 to 4. We're going to turn the driving range into a giant party and just celebrate junior golf and try to get them to bring friends and just really promote junior golf for the year.
Further questions? Seeing none. Thanks very much. Very good. Okay. Gary, we got for park maintenance forestry.
previously mentioned, January was pretty rough with the weather. Production in forestry was pretty hard to do with the temperatures that we had, but we still managed to get over 300 inspections done, almost 200 prunings, over 200 removals. We did have a lot of emergency responses with the weather, 225 emergency responses. That's 170 individual responses more than in December. We weren't able to plant very many trees, just under 100. It's because of the weather. It was either solid ice or sloppy mud. So we had to do other things. But we did get, and I didn't get this on here, but we did manage to get the Christmas lights taken down. And that was at the tennis center. We got the 2 live trees, one at the Warren Plaza, one at Nasker, taken down, and the tree at Century 2 taken down. In support activity and forestry, obviously, logistic maintenance, that's our, for those of you that don't know, that is our work order and asset management system that keeps getting updated daily and throughout the day. Our large log management usually is done by our knuckle boom trucks, both of which are currently down again. So that's not great news, but the landfill was almost inaccessible for most of the month, just for the driveways, the roads inside the landfill itself, so we couldn't have got in there to do much dumping anyway. Both gravel soft trucks are operational and they're up and running in production, so that's good news. And our stump grinding contract is on its way to be posted, so it's going through the processes. It should hit the streets within the next week or so, and you should get bids back on that probably within a month. So that's good news as well. With February, we are going to be doing our normal work. We plan on awarding the stump contract in February. We are going to continue to plant trees, any snow removal that we need to do, various special projects. I think the best news that I can give you is that the new arborist starts next week. So that is awesome.
You are replaceable.
Say again?
You are replaceable.
Yeah.
Jesus. Harsh word. The minutes.
Truth hurts, but it is the truth.
Wow. I hear it.
But thanks all. I'll pull that knife out later. Our construction special projects section, these guys, I've said it before, I'll say it again, they touch just about every area of Park and Rec. They support everything that we do as a department. So they're kind of the unsung heroes, but they do a lot of things. And I'm probably not going to make it all the way through their list, but it's quite extensive. They deal with graffiti. They deal with damaged bollards. They remove all kinds of problems that we have within parks. So one of the things that they're doing is removing the tennis courts at Country Acres right now. They're getting those out of the way so that the dog park can then be built. And that's been no easy task, both from it's a lot of work standpoint to the fact that the lighting had to be taken down in a controlled manner, so that had to be coordinated with forestry. So it's quite a task to get those things done, but they put a plan together and they get things done. The vandalized no parking area sign at the downtown skate park was replaced, so they make the sign in-house. They have the talent and skill and machinery to do that, so we got that replaced. There's a sit-up bench at the park there along Sim Park Drive, I believe is the road. They got that removed, and then graffiti at Edgemore Park, Edgemore Skate Park, Haley Skate Park, Linwood Shelter. the limestone columns at Hydraulic and East Park Street, graffiti. And then also removed the Boston Park sign boards for replacement, and continued, they dismounted the portable welder from one of the trucks to get it delivered to service. And that's kind of the all-around service truck, so hopefully that can get put back in service quickly. They do our snow removal, salt spreading, and that vehicle and spreader had some service that it needed, so it took care of that. And then even things from like changing oil in a air compressor, they take care of that. And all that work plus some, they wound up completing over 140 playground inspections. Keep our playgrounds safe. I think I clicked something wrong. There we go. One of the unfortunate things that they had to do this last month was they went and removed the feet from the Jackie Robinson Memorial statue. The feet remained after that theft, and it just was a painful reminder of how ugly that act was. And so they went and very skillfully removed the rest of that statue, and they didn't damage the concrete base. They were just very delicate with that action, and that was very much appreciated, so that didn't have that, it didn't just look so disrespectful. So that we were very thankful that they went out and did that. So among the other things, they've unloaded a bunch of concrete blocks for McDonald Golf Course. They've got supported the snow glow event with picnic tables, and they've just done a lot of things to help support park and recreation, so appreciate their help. They've got some things coming up. Obviously, they respond to any graffiti reports. They are going to continue doing playground safety inspections at every chance they get, and going to continue work on the Country Acres dog park preparation, so that the contractors can get in there and complete their work so the park can open. And I think always looking for weather to do the park bench construction. So our park maintenance group. There's several pictures in here that really don't do justice to what the sites actually look like that they have to deal with. But there's a lot of homeless camp trash cleanup that goes on. And one of the dangers of one of the job risks is you never know what is in what you're picking up. So we have to use special puncture resistant gloves and other personal protective equipment to just go in and perform this task. And so it's just a lot of hard work that they do, and it's sometimes kind of nasty work, but we appreciate it. So among those things, they've assisted with the snow glow event that happened. Glad that was a success. They're always on the lookout for snow and ice. If that does come up, and then there's training during the winter, we have winter, we call them winter lists. It's just that never-ending list of tasks within our system that needs to get done, and we usually run out of winter before we run out of list. And then, of course, the athletics section, they are making preparations for spring sports on the athletic fields. The Mantis, and for those of you that know, I think you're the new member, the Mantis is a very unique machine. It's basically a mower on steroids on the end of an arm, an articulating arm. It's a very unique machine, and it's the work it can do is to clear the brush along the riverbank, along bike paths, along any area that you need to be on an angle or a slope where it's very inaccessible. This is a good machine for that. So that we keep that machine busy as much as we possibly can. A lot of the work that it's doing has been deferred for a decade or more, and so we're trying to catch up. Like I said, we usually run out of winter before we run out of list. Pruning shrubs, mowing prairie areas to reduce fire risk, removing eastern red cedar infestations. Those are all things that we try to catch up on during the winter time. One of the honors that I had this last month was going with one of our employees, Leanne Sack. Leanne is a landscape supervisor, and she was awarded the Outstanding Park and Natural Resources Professional from the Kansas Recreation and Park Association, and it was an honor to go see her accept that award. So congratulations, Leanne. I think that is it, and I will stand for any questions.
Questions for staff?
The red cedar, how big is the red cedar problem here besides like Honey Prairie Park?
System-wide. Yeah, if there's an area that is, I want to say, unmaintained, we have a cedar problem because they just invest. It is significant. Pawnee Prairie is a good example of where we've had some successes in our management program. There's an area on the west side of the park. I believe it's off of Carr. I think you're shaking your head, so that must be right. So we went in there 10 years ago-ish and opened up a whole new meadow because it had been overtaken by cedars. And you go out there today and it's a nice prairie. It looks really, really nice. Had we just left it alone, you wouldn't be able to see 10 feet into the park because it was just all cedars. So that's one example of successes that we've had. We've done that same type of action in multiple different areas. Chisholm Park, Swanson Park, Cottonwood Park, Maple Park has got some area that we don't maintain every year, and you've got to see the problem.
I was curious if we have any leads in the Jackie Robinson statue theft, because I'm curious if any arrests are pending, because I'm just baffled by that entire.
If there are, PD hasn't told me.
And have you heard from League 42 on where they stand as far as their donations and their plans as far as what they're going to be doing?
I don't have specific numbers, but I do know that donations that they have received on the GoFundMe page that they had far exceeded what they were originally asking. That was excellent, and I believe that the Major League Baseball has stepped in to say that they would also be putting in some donations for whatever League 42 is doing, also the statue and that kind of thing. I'm confident the statue will be replaced.
Right. Very, very silly. Not silly, stupid, dim-witted, and terrible, as a matter of fact. Don't do that. Tear down that stuff.
Exactly. Leave it alone.
Yes. Very ridiculous that we're even having to do that. But hopefully some good can come out of that after, if enough attention is given to it, that, something good can come.
It's my understanding that League 42 is trying to make the best of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And they're planning also, Troy is going to be meeting with Bob Lutz, who's over that, to look at some additional security and lighting things that can do in the area as well. So hopefully help prevent it moving forward once they do get the project back up and going. So they did reach out to the original company that did the sculpture, and they still have the mold that's there. But they're 6 to 8 months out before they can actually do it. So we're putting together a plan for that once it comes in to be able to put some more security measures in place.
Very good. Any other additional questions? I'm just curious, what's going on with the knuckle boom? What is it just a thing that?
Those machines do a lot of heavy lifting. And I don't think that the design was up to the task. And we're looking at ways that we can possibly get those trucks replaced sooner than later. We may have to do some vehicle equipment, CIP, finagling to get that done. But we're looking at every option that we can, because right now we did an evaluation analysis of their downtime versus uptime, and they're down more than 50% of the time.
Oh, wow.
So they're not doing us any good when they're down.
Right.
And they're an integral part of our operations. So we're looking at everything that we can do to get those replaced.
One final thing, and sorry to keep you up there. I was just curious what the update was on the ice center, what we know about, I don't know if you can speak to that, or if anybody can speak to that, actually.
I don't have an update on the ice center.
Does anybody have any ice center updates on where that stands?
No, no updates that I'm aware of. I know that we provided some requested information that was there on these performance measures and projections that were given over to council for them to actually review. And I'm not sure what the next steps are from there. Joe would probably have a little bit more specifics on that.
I just generally get some quote when stuff's in the media, and there has been another. Dale wrote another op-ed about the ice center. So
Just on those knuckle, are you blowing hydraulic hoses, or is this stress fractures through the metal?
All of the above and more.
They're being overweighted.
Well, they have weight ranges, but there's also other mechanical issues that go along with
I've broken out a lot of tractors.
dynamic forces and things like that. And when you get hydraulic pulsing, you create a lot of dynamic forces that aren't kind to static cranes.
further questions for staff? Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Okay, Alejo is obviously not here, but he texted me and he said that Park Foundation is continuing to push the Plates for Parks initiative. Hope everybody has a Wichita flag plates because it does benefit our Park Foundation. I am proud to have one, so now you know. Anyhow, I do not think I have an update, and since Troy's not here, he does not have an update. Does anyone else have, anybody want to say anything?
I just want to share a couple of things.
Please.
So I know that Gary mentioned earlier that we hosted the KRPA conference. So thanks, Dr. Chris, for coming out, being our moderator for one of our events. And helping.
I was given this awesome shirt. Like I gotta show this off. If you haven't seen it, they came up with this awesome hashtag shirt, which I'm so proud of. Go park yourself. So thanks to the KRPA for inviting me to be a part of that. And it's always fun to be in your guys' world. So thank you for that.
We were excited about it. We had, like Katie referenced earlier, I think we had one of the largest attendance for the conference, right at 500 participants. And Gary mentioned earlier that Leanne Sack took the Park Professional of the Year award. We also had won the Innovation of the Year award for a program called Right to You, as well as the Park Project for Chester R. Lewis. And then we had the Aquatics Professional of the Year as well, Joe Martin, who's our aquatics supervisor. And in 75 years, we were able to tout, this was the 76th year that we were the first host to be able to end the conference with fireworks. So we blast on Riverfront Stadium and the fireworks show at the end of the conference. So,
Who else can say that?
Really
Nobody. That's like it. All right. Well, thank you so much. Well, seeing nothing else, nobody else has any announcements for the good of the body, I will go ahead and make a motion to adjourn. Do you have a second? Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. Thank you very much. We'll see you next month. Oh, everybody needs to go validate with Penny.
Well, pleasure meeting you, gentlemen.
Yes. Nathan, thank you so much. It was great having you here. Appreciate your input and questions and knowledge of hydraulics. No, I mean,
A lot of tractors.
listen, I should know more about tractors, I'm realizing. And I knew there was something up with those knuckle booms. Before you were here, they would always talk about how there was drama with the knuckle boom. We're waiting for the new knuckle boom.
Good seeing you.
Absolutely.
Coming in on Thursday for
I should just say to both of you, let's get
I will have
coffee sometime
stack
soon.
of stuff
Be good to
for
catch
you
up.
at
Okay,
that
I'll sit
point.
around.
Perfect.
I'm home this week.
Kind of about this class.
Later this week?
What's going on with the red bud out on the east side of town and?
Yeah,
I don't have any
Guys have a good evening.
cards on me there, but.
Oh, you're good.
I would like to get a coffee with you. It'd be good to connect with you and talk about everything and just kind of get to know you and about what you're.
I just want to kind of grow the outdoors, don't want to be the wrong word, but how do we get away from sidewalks and gym equipment?
And get them out, you mean like on the outside, or how do you mean?
Mountain biking, how do we actually do stuff that's not sidewalks?
Mm-hmm.
Bentonville, Boulder, they have like outdoor rock climbing in their city parks.
I love it. No, I mean.
Also a big believer that